Welcome, everybody, to a Matchmaker's Guide on Love and Life with your favorite matchmaker, Katy Clark. You know, I'm keeping it real, and I think I just found my equal as someone who keeps it real. I'm so excited to have good friend and guest today, Cinqe Spencer, and let me tell you a little bit about her first. So Cinqe is a devoted woman of God, cherished wife, and married to Sean Spencer. We love Sean, too. She's a nurturing mama of 4 kids. That's not easy. A supportive sister and an engaged community member. And she's my friend. Let me just throw that in. Girl, you need to put that in your bio. Cinqe founded Cinqe's Angels in 2017. It's a nonprofit organization with multiple programs. One of them is called Cinqe's Angels Haven Home that serves women and children overcoming sexual and domestic violence. We will be talking about it today. Having triumphed over her own harrowing ordeals of sexual and domestic violence, Cinqe embodies resilience and empowerment, healing, and faith. I'm adding more words for your bio here. She channels her experiences into a beacon of hope. She generously shares her testimony to inspire you all today on your journey towards overcoming adversity. Girl, just on doing life right is really what we could say to that, right? Well, welcome to Cinqe.
Hey, welcome. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much, Katy, for having me on. It's such a pleasure and an honor to be a guest on your show. So I'm excited.
Yeah, you're an early guest too. That's more important. Well, we've been talking about having you on my show when the show started, and I was getting to the ideas of it because your testimony, and these are some Christian terms we're going to be using here today. This is no joke what God has done in your life. It's the power of Christ, and that your testimony is amazing, and that's why you're going to be sharing that with us today. So this is not a topic to have on in the car with kiddos. This could be a little. The truth of this is kind of hard. There's going to be a lot of exposing of things that are dark and hard. But yeah, why don't we just jump into it? I know you and I talked beforehand about like what to share, what not to share, but I'm open because we really trust that whoever listens to this is going to hear whatever they needed to hear, and it's going to touch and it's going to give them hope, inspiration, or how to help too. Because not all of us, I came from like a pretty basic blue collar family with nothing happening. So when I hear of these stories and your story, I'm like, what? And then it causes me, and good people want to help. So I think we're really going to get to those topics today. So why don't you start with like your life growing up? I mean, we're going to talk about love and life, and we'll get to the love part too, guys. So hold on, because it's good. It's a good storyline. But why don't you just talk about growing up in your life?
Yeah. So just growing up, military brat. Uh, Parents were married and lived on the East Coast. And that's where I grew up. Well, that's where I lived for a little bit. And then I grew up in Iowa, actually, and lived there for until I was about 20, uh, yeah, about 29 years old.
Okay.
And then,
But you live there. Oh, you are 29. You look so
no,
young to
I,
me.
I was, no, I
20.
moved
Okay.
when I was 29. No, I'm
Right.
33 now. I'm gonna
That's
be
right. You just had your
34.
birthday
Yes, birthday tomorrow, actually.
tomorrow. Big day.
So, yes, big day. And anyways, yes. So we lived on the East Coast, moved to
But,
Iowa, lived.
but tell us the big part of like your growing up. Like that's never easy to be in a military home, but your mom also,
Yeah,
you had some bigger spiritual things going on in your home.
yeah, yeah. So it was, yeah, it definitely wasn't easy. I grew up uh in a home that experienced domestic violence. There was infidelity between my parents on both ends, and just a lot of sin and um, miscommunication. My dad being overseas often, and
Yeah.
just things that just spiraled into a night of where there was my dad actually ended up hitting and hurting my mom, and
Did you see that when you were a kid? You
I
did.
did. I witnessed that at 4 years old, and that really impacted the trajectory of my
Hmm.
childhood, my teenage years, my young adult life,
Right.
and just my life in general. It it really had a major impact, and where as I was going on my healing journey with God, He showed me that that was a turning factor in my life, just where I had allowed unforgiveness and
Mhm.
bitterness into my life and abandonment and anger and rage from the
Mhm.
things that I had experienced and seen.
Right. Well, you
So,
saw it. That's what you
yeah.
knew to be
Hmm.
normal, right?
Yeah.
A kid, even as a 4-year-old.
Right. And so, yeah, that's what I seen. And then, moving, moving on, just my mom, just, she was such a great mom and, had all of us three kiddos just by herself a majority of the time. And it was just really hard for her. I know, like during that time, just I couldn't imagine. I've been through domestic violence, but I couldn't imagine going through it with children,
Mm,
so I don't know what it's like to be in that situation. So I just really try to give with women that have been through violence, and no matter if it's their fault or not, just a lot
right.
of grace, because raising kids and going through that, it can't be easy. And then
Right.
having all these, go ahead.
Did your mom leave your dad? Did they divorce? Did she flee? How did that
Yeah,
work?
so
'Cause
she
this
actually,
could be a story that there is a woman right now listening who is a mom of three. Like, do I
yeah,
go and become single? Do I flee? Do I not? What do I do?
yeah, so she actually actually was actually, the military told her, hey, you need to leave because we cannot keep you safe. And they just told her
Mm,
straight up like that, like, you need to leave because we can only keep him for a certain amount of time and you need to go. So we went, and my grandparents actually got us plane tickets to fly out of the area, but it was going to be some time, and we couldn't sit in the military airport because we were kids, and they're like, you can't
okay.
sit here battered and beaten up with three kids. So we actually ended up going into a Haven home for a short time, until we waited for that flight. And then we went back, and then caught our flight. But yeah, they didn't end up divorcing right away. It took time because my dad, he truly wanted his family. Even though
I
that
think they usually
happened,
do. And
and
in hard marriages, I think if people really look hard, they want to stay married. They want a good marriage.
right,
They have no skills, which is this
right.
podcast is going to be pumping skills. But oh, so
And
he wanted it.
yeah, he really did. And I just remember moving back. We moved to Iowa and just being young, and even when he would come and visit, he would just be trying to talk to my mom, and because they were still married, and
Hmm.
he was just trying to get her back. And even though that was such a crazy situation, I know my dad, I know his heart, and that wasn't I don't I just know that was the devil coming in and
Yeah,
just tearing our family up, because that was never
right,
his what he wanted for our
right.
family. Yeah.
Well, hurt people hurt people. I always say that. And if that's the only skill you have, a lot of men are not taught anger management. A lot of men in police forces, armed services, they have anger. It's hard. There's real PTSD to be had. I mean, I hate to say this and not to minimize theirs, but I have PTSD from living in California during COVID. Like I still get anger coming up in me because of the stupidity of it all. But
Yeah.
so these men aren't given the skill sets and the tactics and how to deal with women. Women, we're hard. We're a little bit a lot. So,
Yeah.
well, good for dad. Love it. Now, growing up, were you spiritual? You are highly spiritual now. You are a woman of God, woman of faith. Were you
No.
brought into that fold at a young age?
No. So I mean, I went to the little, your friend invited you to a youth thing, you on Wednesday night, I would go. But no, I didn't grow up in the church. My parents didn't take me to church. That wasn't our routine. But every time I went, I had such a love for God. I had such a
Mm,
passion for God, and I just would cry in his presence. I could just feel him. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
peace,
God is
safety.
real.
Yeah,
Wow, I felt
reality.
just safe, covered. It's like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't understand
Love.
how to, yeah, I can't explain it. It was just every time it was supernatural. And anytime I would see the church bus, I'd be like, Mom, can I get on the bus?
Take me to church, right? For all the right reasons.
Yes.
Nowadays getting an adult to church is like, oh, I don't want to go to church. It's like, do you understand the power in a good dwelling of the Lord? So I love that. Now tell me about your teen years because this is where it gets a little spicy.
Yeah, so my teen years were definitely a challenge. There was a lot of transitions going on in my life. There was some more things going on in my family where my stepdad ended up leaving my mom,
Okay.
and then I ended up leaving the house that same night because my mom didn't want me there because of some things that had transpired. So then I became homeless and I moved in.
Tell me about that night. I can't even fathom. You just literally walked the streets. Did you bring a bag? I mean, how does that happen when people are like, I just left my house? I'm like, did you have a girlfriend, a family that took you in?
Yeah. So I didn't just I wasn't like walking the streets. I actually had a car, and I had my
At 15?
school,
How old are
and
you?
yeah,
Iowa.
I had my school work permit. I was very responsible, had a job, and was very involved in school. I was actually a cheerleader. So but my grandma, my great grandmother actually gave me the car. So
Okay.
that I got the car from her. So that I had a car at least. So I wasn't on the streets, thank God. A lot of people they just on the streets, you know. I at least had my car. So no, but I had an opportunity to go and live with my grandparents, and I had an opportunity to live with a friend, a
But
family
you're
friend.
stubborn. You're stubborn.
But I was
Right.
stubborn, and I wanted what I wanted, and I was like, these people don't understand my life, you know?
At
And
15, come on, girl.
I'm like, these people don't get it. I'm like, okay, yeah. So I ended up actually staying with a high school boyfriend and his mom, and
Okay.
I lived with him and them, and it was actually right down the street from my high school, so it just made sense. I was like, well, I'm just gonna stay here, and I was comfortable, and she was loving, and was it perfect? No.
No, no, and that's not
Yeah,
God's plan for any girl.
yeah,
To be so stubborn to leave. I mean, you gotta be super stubborn and be like, my way, highway, I'm out. I mean,
yeah.
especially that's a brave space is it for a 15-year-old girl that there's
But
a lot of anger that would push that.
right, but I didn't want to leave my
I know
house.
that's what I'm saying is like
And but
there had to be
she
something.
didn't want me there, and my mom didn't want me there, and I didn't want to be somewhere that I wasn't wanted.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
But if she did want you there, that's what's hard is when if you were to watch from the outside, she did want you there, she didn't know how to say it. She didn't know
Yeah.
how to love you the way that it would work out right. And it's like our
Right.
parents did the best they could, but at the same time, that really wasn't your mother's heart. It's never a
No.
mother's heart. If it is, it's you're just again, it's ungodliness in you that wants,
Yeah.
I don't want get out. I've said to my son a couple times, listen, if you're not going to respect me, then you can move out. Only in the
Yeah.
sense that, look, this is my house, respect it. But I would never want to move out. I mean, he's going to move out because he's going to get a job. But well, okay, let's
Mhm.
really dive in now. I feel like
Yeah.
you're giving me the unspicy side, girl, because I know way more of that story than you are preparing to share. But obviously, share what you want. But really, because I think people like me never been around strip clubs, never been around. I didn't have a single friend that moved out of their parents' house. Like I just had a regular, basic suburban life, and so I think we really need to explore how people get into these dynamics because someone like me goes, they're just dumb. Like
Yeah.
how ungrateful are these people? Like we have these little preconceived ideas of like, well, you got yourself into that mess, that's your fault. And not, I mean, I care. I'm highly compassionate. Obviously, right now we're doing a strip club ministry and I got Christmas presents for them. And I've been working with you and I support your ministry. But like how does this happen, Cece? Like
Yeah.
give the gory details.
Yeah. So when I was 17 years old, I actually started working in a strip club, and I was in high school,
What
and
you were a cheerleader. Cheerleaders don't work in strip clubs. How did you did someone say you should go work over there? And who is this person?
Yeah, it was actually so I was talking to a friend of mine, and I'm like, girl, I need money. Like, cause I worked at a nursing home, and that wasn't gonna pay the bills. You know
Right,
what I'm saying? Like
right.
I had bills because at this point I ended up getting my own apartment.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
and I was like, okay. And I was working at so right before the nursing home, and then I started working at McDonald's. I'm like, McDonald's is not paying the rent, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
not red
So
money. It's
no.
a kid's job, starter job.
So I'm going to school all day, and then I'm going to McDonald's at night. I'm like, this ain't working.
Wow.
So my girlfriend, she was like, "Hey girl, I know this is something you probably don't want to do, but
Mm.
there's this club and it's about an hour away. And girl, all you got to do is just go and talk to this person." She gave me somebody's name, and just they'll hire you. You'll just work. And she's like, it's gonna be scary. You're probably not gonna like it. And
Was
she's
she
like,
working there at the time?
she did a couple times, and she's like, girl, I went and I made like $600, and I didn't have to do anything. I just talked to somebody and they gave me $600. I was like, well, I talk to people all the time. I can do that. That's easy.
Right. Right, right. So
Yeah.
then you're a
So
young girl, like this just like breaks my heart. This is why I'm
yeah,
like, how do these young, no girl ever says, when I grow up, I want to be a stripper. I mean, maybe Cardi B, I don't know. But like
yeah.
what then? Okay, so you're like the money. It's always about the money. So you
It was the
go
money.
your first day. I mean, like give us like a background. Like, what are you feeling as a girl? Is it like, oh,
Yeah.
this is baloney. I don't want to do this, but whatever. Like you just get stubborn about it.
Yeah. So man, I haven't really like thought about like what it was like the first day, but this is good because I wasn't afraid. I was like, this is what I'm doing. Like once I made my mind up, I made my mind up, and I told myself like, this is what you have to do.
Yeah, it's
And
like a
I,
hard heart.
and
You gotta like put the walls around so you don't have to feel
right.
good.
And I was like, and I made a plan. I'm like, okay, this is going to be my plan. I'm going to do like this. But you know what, Katie? It was, I'm going to go and make money. And maybe if I make enough money, my mom will let me come back home,
Mm.
you know,
It's always something deeper.
because I was like, I was part of the reason why her and my stepdad had broke up because of some things. I mean, I was part of it. I wasn't the reason,
Right. You're never the
but
reason. Right.
the lie, right, who
Yeah.
was exposed. So, and I didn't cover up like she wanted me to.
Mm.
So I had to leave. And
You just
I
wanted to make
was
her proud again. You
I
wanted
did, and I was
connection
like,
again.
and I did, and I knew that she was struggling because
Mm.
she was a single mom,
Again. Yeah.
and again, and I knew that my stepdad was only helping so much, and I don't think my dad was helping at the
Yeah.
time because
Yeah.
I was grown, you know. I mean,
There's
like,
these champagne
yeah,
ex-wives nowadays, that's like new because I don't think women were living champagne lives like they are now. There's a lot of
yeah,
ex-wives living champagne lives. I was not $300 a month from my ex-husband, not champagne lives. But so you just
yeah.
wanted to like come back and help,
No,
support,
I did,
reconnect with your
and
mom.
I did. I wanted to reconnect, and I did help her out multiple times because she needed it. And, you know, I didn't tell her that I was working in the club, but I know she wasn't
Mm,
stupid. Where am I getting all this money from, you know?
right.
And I would just told her, I'm like, Mom, I'm dating this guy and he's got a bunch of money. And, you know, that wasn't, he's just giving me the money. So yeah, that's where I got it. So
Yeah.
it's no big deal. So
Hmm. Well, now tell
yeah.
us about being in a strip club at a young age. I mean, the other
Yeah.
thing too is, the ministry that I work with, they go in and I know if I went into a strip club, I'd be like, who's your wife? Who's your girlfriend? Get out of here. This could be your daughter. Like I'd be in shambles, ripping heads off. Like it's just
So,
isn't good for anyone, period, no matter what they think. It's so selfish.
so
Anyway, so fill me in.
I actually worked in a club that was 21 and up.
Okay. And you were
And
how old?
I was 17.
How illegal is
So
this?
it was so illegal. I had
How
a fake
illegal.
ID that I actually stole from a girl, which is bad. I know. Forgive
Yeah,
me, Jesus. He's already
we're not
forgiven me.
surprised, but it's okay.
And because you know, I was like, oh, I'm young. I want to go to the club. I never thought that I was going to use it to go to work at a strip club. But hey,
Mm,
I had it, and
gateway.
it worked. I
So
was
he
like,
hires
cool.
you get hired.
Hired
What do they
me.
tell you? Did they give you
Yeah,
a job description? Like, oh, you got a job, and then boom, you're there. It's like
yeah. So
trafficking almost. Like, okay,
it's
you can work for us.
yeah, it's crazy. So like, and this place is like in the middle of nowhere. It's like
Mm-hmm.
cornfields, you know, in the middle of nowhere. It was a
80
bar.
already.
It was a it was a bar. We could well, you could drink, but I didn't because I had
Okay.
you know, I had boundaries. I was like, but it was a club where you had to keep your clothes on. So you had to like you had to wear your like panties and bras. You couldn't like go nude or anything like that. And
Amen to that.
thank God,
Thank
like,
God, girl. Thank God.
and no, seriously, like God has really covered me a lot. Like it could have been real crazy and
Yeah.
real bad.
Did they
But
try to get you? Did these men try to seduce you to do it anyway?
so no, like I was so covered in the club. When I worked in the strip club, I worked probably in strip club probably
How's it a strip club if no one's stripping though?
so because it's like a like I don't know, like they're not taking their clothes off. There's just like dancing, but it
Oh,
couldn't.
okay.
It
Okay.
was the law because it
So
was
it's like
Illinois.
lingerie, but
Yeah, it
yeah.
was lingerie, but yeah, but this grows because
Yeah.
obviously I get
Yeah.
hooked. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna quit in 6 months, and then 6 months comes, I'm like, man, I just made like 30 grand. No, I'm
Yeah.
like, I was
Yeah.
staying. I'm doing this forever. But yeah, and
But how did your soul feel while doing it? Did you just build such a wall? You didn't feel nothing? You're like, whatevs. I mean, I watched the movie with J-Lo, where she
yeah,
is
so
just
I
taking
didn't.
advantage of men and they don't care. They don't care. They
Yeah,
just
and
lost that piece of tenderness in their heart.
I didn't. No, I really convinced myself that I'm doing this for the money,
Because you were.
and I'm not doing anything wrong. And these guys,
Yep.
they need help. I would counsel a lot of them.
Tell us about that because I think what women need to understand is why would men run to that? Why? And
Yeah.
they're just paying them for advice. I mean, these women don't really care. They're just lying to them. You're just,
Hmm.
oh, baby, it's gonna be okay. Whatever. I don't know what you said, but teach us
Yeah.
because so our men would never run to that because we should be that comfort in that space for our men. But
Right.
like,
Well,
tell us
first,
about how you counseled these guys.
well,
But
we
you
should.
also sent them home, didn't you?
I mean, yes. So, well, the one of them, yes, I did because
This
I
is
found
how
out that.
honest you are.
Well, I found out he was married. I was like, how dare you? This one guy. I was like, you're, and he showed me his wife and his kids, and I was mortified. I was like, go home.
I'd be curious how many men that go to strip clubs are married. It's probably
And
at least half. I'm gonna Google it.
there's so many, but I want to go back to your point when you said that we should be the comfort for them. No, God should be the comfort for them.
Good point.
And that's the problem is God isn't their foundation and he
Yeah.
isn't their center. So they're broken and they
Mm,
have childhood trauma. They don't know who they are. They don't know their identity. So they're finding their identity in lust, perversion,
yeah.
pornography,
Yeah.
women, the
And
lust
the
of the
women there
flesh.
are doing the same thing. They're finding
Right.
their identity and being that goddess and being that
Yeah.
wanted person, but just
Yeah.
in it for the money. Money,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, money is the
Greed.
root of all evil. Like, right?
Greed.
Yeah, greed.
It's greed and seducing
Hmm.
people,
Yep.
seducing spirits. I'll
Lies.
call it what
It's
it is.
lies. It's
Yeah.
fake. It's
Lies. It's
interesting. And I
fun. It's
love that
like you can be whoever you want, you got
right.
this fake name and you can have this whole fake life. And at the end of the
Mm.
day, you go home and you just,
Yeah, you don't have to address anything. You don't have to really
yeah,
be what your reality. And I love
yeah,
that and we'll talk about your ministry in a little bit, but your
yeah.
ministry, domestic violence happens all the time. And it's not always just to women.
Mhm.
Uh, but the men who are, violating the women, we have to address that because we got to
Yeah.
get to the root of the issue. And if it's these men who are hitting women and angry at women, like we need to heal their hearts too. And you mentioned
Yeah.
that I remember once, and I thought she's right. We got to get to the root of these issues.
Yeah.
Like we can have haven homes for all these women, but if we're not getting to the root of these men, starting new generations of men who can handle their emotions, love on women properly, honor and respect, hear God's voice in their life, we're never going to
Yeah.
solve the problem.
Exactly. And you're exactly right. And hey, I've been through domestic violence and been through fights, but it's because I was toxic and I was
Mhm.
running my mouth and probably half of the things that I would have kept my mouth shut on, I probably wouldn't have got knocked out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Well,
know that
way to
sounds
own it.
funny, but these women need to take accountability for their
Yeah,
work.
yeah,
And there wouldn't be as much violence if people would just take accountability that,
yeah.
hey, you had a bad childhood and you went
Mhm.
through some toxic things and you do not know how to be in a relationship with somebody
Yeah,
because you don't know what a healthy one looks like.
yeah,
So you don't even know what you should even be modeling. So
yeah. But
it
even
goes
just
back.
without being domestic violence, just like arguing in decent relationships, that there's
Yeah.
some toxicity there that needs to be
Yeah.
addressed. Like I'm a little bit of a fighter, and I will
Yeah.
yell and I will raise, and I because I so bad want to be heard, and it's all from my childhood. Like somebody just
Mhm.
hear me. Like the idea of saying I hear you and actually understanding what I'm saying is like all I'm craving. And when I
Yeah.
haven't heard that, and my man is just looking at me going, I'm like, say something, I'm just desperate
Yeah.
for him to say something. And we've worked all this out, not perfect, but you're right. So, I mean, there's
Yeah.
levels of like, slightly toxic up to crazy toxic. And it's
Yeah.
heartbreaking to watch. And yet it's like what people watch on TV all the time. Like people love watching the housewives screaming at each other. And I think turn this junk off, turn it
Yeah.
off. Like that is the last thing I want to see. I want my kids to see. No, that is just so toxic.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in your 20s now. You're at a
Mhm.
strip club. Are you hanging? I mean, you're doing the drive. It sounds like you're driving too, just to save face, right? Which is
Yeah, because I was like, I will not do this in my hometown.
right,
I'm not going to um embarrass my family, like,
right.
all the things. I'm thinking about them, I'm thinking about me, I'm thinking about just it's just not smart.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's
yeah, so
true.
I was driving every weekend. I would drive to Chicago, Illinois and work all weekend.
Wow.
I'd stay in hotels or I'd spend the night with one of the girls I met
Yeah.
or yeah.
Is looking back now, is there anything someone could have said to you or done for you that would have gotten you out of that lifestyle? What did
Mm,
it take to get you out of that? Because I mean, I know
what
there's women who are still doing it. I mean, I've been to, and this broke my heart. I mean, I don't frequent strip clubs. I will be
mhm.
honest. I went to one once, sociological. I was like, what is the mentality behind here? And I do remember hearing these girls, oh, I'm going to college. I'm like, girl, you're 35. Like, what? It was a very
Yeah.
interesting space to like watch these women with their delusional, what I would say.
Because they are delusional and you start to think that and you believe the lie.
Mhm. Right.
Like I believe the lie. I'm like, okay, I'm here, but I'm saving up money for college. I'm gonna go to
Mhm.
college. I'm gonna get my degree, but you never enroll.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No one's holding you
It's
accountable. You're
really
sleeping in and
it's really spiritual.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
because the devil has you right where he wants you.
Yes. Yeah,
So
he doesn't
why
want you to leave.
and you're working for him big time. You
God's
know what I'm
got
saying?
way
Like,
better plans than that. Yeah.
but but you're like you're on his assignment. Like now you're like potentially destroying marriages and
Yeah.
like that's
Yeah.
think about it. You're
Yeah.
like,
Making men so used to this that they can't even have sexual experiences with a loved woman.
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then the enemy gives you this counterfeit and he keeps throwing you these carrots. So then you like you
Mm.
have these plans like, oh, I'm gonna get out and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna
Well,
do
this
that.
guy's
But
gonna marry me. He said he
yeah,
was. I'm
you
gonna have a
get
glamorous life.
stuck in the
Mhm.
delusion and you're just stuck in this cycle. And thank God I was actually married to my first husband when I was working in the club. And he actually ended up going to prison.
He also
And
worked at the club with you though, right?
he didn't work at the club with me.
Okay. But he
No,
wasn't a upscale man. Let's just call him what he was. He wasn't he was not a good man. Am I correct?
I mean, I don't want to, he listen, I just
He's
say
downplaying a little bit to be kind on national TV or whatever here, but
yeah, but I'm saying he did the best that he could with what he was dealt.
yeah,
But
yeah, but it wasn't of like high recourse. So okay.
no, it wasn't. And I mean, because who marries somebody 15 years younger than them and then allows them to work in a strip club
Correct.
and is okay with it? That's just
Right.
not normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's just call
Not
that what
healthy.
it is. I'm gonna be very nice about it though, yes.
And then he went to
But
jail, prison,
yeah,
jail
he went to prison. He went
for
to prison for 3 years for selling drugs.
okay.
And so actually when he was inside, I just was like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do what I want. I want to go to
Tavern.
school. No, I was like, I
Okay.
want to go to school. I'm done. Like, I'm getting out of this. I don't want to do this. I'm gonna do something else. But he didn't want me to quit. He didn't want me to quit
While in
because
prison, he's telling you what to do.
he didn't want me to quit because it was sustaining our life.
I'm sure. Of course.
We had our house was paid for, kids and
By
stuff were
you,
taken care of,
by
and
you.
yeah.
Everything about this is wrong, but that's what toxicity brings. There's a lot of wrongness. Okay, so did
So
you go to school? Did you go back?
I did. I finally, um, well, I ended up, so I left the strip club. I ended up starting to work in a bar. So I
Okay.
started working. I started bartending, and I mean that was even toxic and crazy because it was like, oh my gosh, now I'm drinking every night.
Mhm.
I didn't drink in the strip club because that was my rule. I was like, I made a
Mm,
vow.
smart. I'm
I'm not
sure.
gonna drink in the club, and
Yeah.
I'm not taking my panties off.
I'm sure
You
many
know?
women who they sedate, they take drugs and drink just so they don't have to deal with
Yeah,
what's actually happening in their life. And
yeah.
that's, if I can just say this, it's not God's plan. No girl wakes
No,
up saying that this is what I want to do for a living. I remember once I was in Amsterdam with my husband. We're in the outskirts of the red light. We had zero interest in going into the red light district. It just would break my heart. And still on the outskirt, it's 10 in the morning and they have this little window on like a ground floor, and it's even like a sub ground floor. And I look down and I see this woman. She has to be 50, a little chubby. She's sitting there in the window at 10 a.m. with like tassels on. It was nothing enticing about it, but it just broke my heart. There's no woman who is 50 that wants to be sitting there at 10 a.m. thinking, yep, someone come by me for a little bit, like purchase my time. No, this is not God's plan for anyone. And I mean, this
no.
is just also a gateway to trafficking. Oh, come work at this club. I mean, I crazily got an email recently that was like, you can come make all this money. I mean, I should have screenshotted it. I was like, delete. But it said like it literally said the auditions were topless. I'm like, how did I get this? But that's trafficking. That's how they get the
Yeah,
girls, bring the girls, take the girls, children. So, okay. So you're
yeah,
married to this guy. You are going back to school. You're doing what you need to do.
yeah, yeah. I'm like, I'm just gonna do what I always wanted to do. And
Yay.
um, yeah, I actually did start going to school. I did go to college, and did I finish? No.
Okay, that's all right. We got time. We
Yeah,
got time.
yeah,
But could somebody have said something to you? Like if we know someone who's doing this, or we see a girl
yeah.
who's kind of all about the money. I mean, let's be honest, you don't even have to go to strip clubs anymore. You just got to go to certain websites and it's basically you're pimping yourself. You're just pimping
Mhm.
yourself, and it's an exchange, right? He wants someone pretty and you want the money, you want the Chanel
Yeah,
purse. I mean, it is a lot of college girls are doing it, saying, "Oh, it pays off my college bills." I mean, I don't even want to keep talking about it. I don't want to give it energy. But
yeah.
what could we say to younger women who are just, oh, they see the money, they see maybe the fame nowadays. What could we say to them? What do you think would you have
Well,
heard?
I'll tell you what you can say because I actually was able to work in a restaurant with a couple girls that were stripping, and I knew that God had me on an assignment with them,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and He allowed me to tell them a little bit about my story and my testimony, and I just told them that God has a plan for you,
That's
and He has
right.
a purpose for you. He loves you,
That's right.
and you have a God calling on your life, and
Yep.
this isn't it.
And they don't see it. They can't even
Mhm.
fathom that. So it's good that you had the vision to put in there.
Right, and sometimes they can't see it, so then God will bring you a visionary so that you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the girls actually ended up quitting, and which was encouraging that I
Yeah.
told,
Yeah.
like, "Hey, honey, this isn't for you," you know? But I had such a draw, like, I wanted to go. There's like a, um there's like a line of strip clubs down in Harry Hines in Dallas. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
"I
There
need to
are.
go over there and just go into every single club and
Yeah.
tell those girls, but they'll kick you out, like,
Yeah.
they're
But
like,
there's
"Here
ministries
she
already
comes
doing it.
again."
There's
Yeah,
ministries doing it. This is why we partner. This is why I'm partnering with Beloved One.
right.
I know you're going to look to network with them. And I know Terry
Yeah,
Foy is doing it. Like, and you got to be careful too, because this, you're very spiritually, um, like you're aware that there's demons and you're going to allow when you're trying to do great things, bad things are going to be coming at you. So you walk into
mhm,
a strip club, don't think that your husband's not going to be tempted another day. Like that's also why I don't personally want to be into that area,
mhm.
and it goes generationally. Like crazy story, but I was arrested, put in jail in Vegas. Not, it was a mask issue. It was nothing else, people. So I was totally cleared on everything. But I'm sitting in jail in downtown Vegas, And it's crazy in there, girl. It was nuts. I all praise to police officers who are not like annoyed by people all day long. But I'm sitting next to two girls who are prostitutes. And they get pulled in, they get sent back out, pulled in, sent back. And I'm like, tell me your story. And just one girl said she grew up with a mom who did this all day. She'd go up and get the money from the John when they were finished. It just again broke my heart. This was not again. And I remember sitting there saying, "This is not God's plan for your life. None of it.
Yeah.
None of this is God's plan." And as Christians, when we see that opportunity, we just need to say it. Like it's not our
Yeah.
job to fix it. We just have to say, "This is not God's plan for your life. I believe more
Just
for you."
plant the seed,
Yeah, right.
you know?
And
Yeah, I
let
love it.
in any way it could possibly grow. I'm sure there are amazing stories of girls who are like, one day I just went, forget this. And you got to step out by faith. You don't have the finances. You don't have, you're making all this money. And then it's like, wait, so, okay. All right. So
Mhm.
fast forward a little bit to finish up here. We're going to talk about
Yeah.
love because
Mhm.
you've gone through the healing. Well, you haven't gone through the healing yet, but you've gone through the hardship. And now
Yeah.
you are how old and what is your life? I'm thinking you're at a club and what happens at this club?
Yeah,
How
so
you come
fast
to know the
forward.
Lord too? Like how in all of this season you're like, that's it. I'm gonna serve something else besides
Yeah,
the
well,
darkness.
just to make a very long story short, I, after I divorced my first husband, I actually ended up, in a mental hospital because I was raped in 2015,
Mm,
and then after that, um no, first I was raped, and then after that, I had an abortion, and then,
mm,
got divorced, and I was at the end of myself. I had unforgiveness, bitterness,
right, right.
anger, all the things, voices in my head telling me to kill myself. I'm gonna call it what it is, you know?
Yeah,
And then I was at the end of myself and I was like, I'm hearing all these voices. I don't want to hurt myself. Why what is this? What is going on? You know? So I've never wanted to do this. So I was like, this is not me.
yeah. That's
So
some
I was
dark
like,
stuff, but it's
and it
real.
and it
People
was
struggle with
loud,
that.
and it was loud, and I was like, "God, help, like, I don't wanna do that." And he just so gently said to me, "Daughter, I can't because you have unforgiveness towards your mom." And then
Mm,
I literally just said, "Mom, I forgive you." And, like, I'm, like, spilling my guts to her, and she's like, "Oh gosh, my kid's gonna kill herself because she's confessing all this stuff to me." And I'm just like, "I just want
confession.
these voices gone," like, I'm
Right.
doing what God said to forgive, so that's what I'm doing. I forgave her in that moment, and it boom, it left me alone, and was
Mm,
was I'm calling what it is. The demons left me alone.
yeah. Yeah.
And in the
Demonic
Bible, it
spirits
talks
that
about and
hold.
it talks
You
about it
open a
in
door.
Matthew 18. It talks about in Matthew 18 the tormentors when and that's what they were. They were tormenting me. And anyways, when that happened, I ended up going into behavioral health in a hospital. And I spent a week there and I just seen the craziest things. I've seen people walk in the halls with demons, literally scratching the wall, screaming. It was so demonic. It was so sad because
Yeah.
these people are in there. They got them on, they just
And
like,
let me just
go
stop you
ahead.
for a second because
Yeah.
I don't talk about the demonic much on the podcast, but when you
Yeah.
live in third world countries, and if you
Yeah.
know anything about witches, and I know you've dealt with witches and witchcraft, demonic
Yeah.
is real. Good
Yes.
and bad is true. Right and
Yes.
wrong is true. Demonic and angelic is real as well. So we don't see
Yes.
that in this first world. Like everyone's appropriate. Um,
Especially in America,
yeah,
right?
that's what I'm saying. We're first world. We behave. You go to those third world countries, I've seen people writhing on the ground, just fully demonic. And so it's real. And if you don't believe me, that's fine. Don't believe us, but it's
Yeah.
going
I'm
to
only
happen whether
speaking
you believe or not.
right, and that's why I say, like, I'm just speaking from experience and what I
Mm,
seen,
right.
and, but anyways, you know, I God just really showed me who He was, because I was actually declared that I had to go to like, the judge was like, "You have to" I had to go they were gonna ship me off to, like, another hospital, like a mental institution. And it was crazy, and God was like, "Trust me," the whole time, "Trust me, trust me, trust me." And then we get back to my room I get back to my room, And I'm like, God, you told me to trust you, and now they're gonna ship me off. And then, well, then the doctor came in, and the doctor, he just heard me out, and I was like, listen, and the Holy Spirit was like, honey, I want you to talk to the doctor. So
Hmm.
I just told the doctor, I was like, look, I haven't been through it, okay? So I was like, and I went through this, I went through that, I went through this, and I was like, and I was divorced. I was like, I'm tired. I just needed a break. And I didn't feel like talking to you. So, but now I'm talking to you. And listen, I need to get out of here. I have a whole life to get back to. Blah, blah,
Okay.
blah, 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 blah. I'm like just telling him everything. And then he's like,
You seem pretty
they have
sane.
they have their little like paper, you know,
Right.
and he's like, well, I don't agree with anything that the judge says. So I'm gonna let you go home today.
Amen. Right.
Girl, and it was crazy.
Redemption, girl.
It was redemption, and
Second chance.
I know it sounds crazy, but it literally stormed for 6 days, and on the seventh day, the 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 rain stopped, the the clouds parted. There was literally a rainbow. Looked out the window of the hospital, and it said John 3:16 on the building across the street from it was there was a church. It was called Trinity.
Yeah,
I said,
there we go.
you can't make this up,
No, God will
you
show up when he
know?
needs, he will do what
He
he needs to
he
do.
did it. I mean, like the rain stopped, the rainbow came. I was like,
You're getting
what?
out.
Yes, I'm going home. You know,
Redemption,
it
right?
was like the promise was real. He
Hmm.
said, trust me, daughter. Was it easy after that? Heck no. But
No.
anyways, I got out of there and then just living my life. Fast forward, I was just done with I was like, I want something new. So I tried to open up a restaurant. I actually worked for a really oh my gosh, yeah, I worked for a
I owned a
restaurant.
restaurant. They're like, it's like a marriage.
It's so yeah, and and I was like trying to open up this barbecue restaurant and I was
Yeah.
doing everything and I just kept getting red tape, stop, no, no. And I'm like, why is this happening? Uh, um this is July, let me say May, June, July 2019 at this time.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it's just not working, girl. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, God, what now? So I'm literally driving and I see a Texas plate. And I'm like, Texas? Interesting. So, and I like turn,
Mm,
I'm driving, I see another one. I live in Iowa. Why am I seeing all these Texas plates? Like, seriously?
okay.
And it's just like Texas, Texas, Texas. And I'm like, I'm moving to Texas. So I jump on a flight. I go down, I just like check Dallas out. I'm looking around and I literally found a job and I found an apartment. And I
Okay.
was like, yeah, I was all in, lady. So I'm like, okay,
Starting
cool. So
fresh,
then
starting new.
so I flew back home and I got my car, drove down, packed it up as much as I could, drove down, rented an apartment, flew one way home, rented a U-Haul, drove it one
Right.
way to Texas because I was done. I was like, I'm leaving Iowa behind. God said that He had a new beginning for me, and my husband was gonna be there. So I was like,
Okay.
I'm all in.
It's where the
Okay.
love story starts. Okay.
Yes. So
Redemption. I've said it
yes,
a few times, but yes.
I met my husband in a nightclub. I was actually Sunday fun daying, and I said, listen, I know I'm drinking, but don't judge me. Jesus is working on me, and I told him. So, but anyways, yeah,
Always. Still
he was,
working on it.
yes, every day. That's why we need the blood of Jesus. It's so powerful because we are sinners. Like we are
Yeah.
never going to get it,
Yeah.
but God's got it. That's why He's got us. His blood covers us. But anyways, my husband was on the left side of me, and um, I actually turned over, and he turned to me, and he just tapped me, and he was like, "Ma'am, you're standing awfully close to me. You must want somebody to protect you." And
Oh.
it sounds like such a one liner, but when you knew and you know the things that I've been through and went through from
Mm.
childhood to teens to young 20s, like I'm like, you have no idea. In my head, I'm like, dude, you have no idea,
Like, I'll take it.
Yes. And we just I just said, listen, like I'm looking for my husband and I'm not out here playing around.
You said this in
And
the club that night?
I said it in the club that night. I said, I'm out here looking for my husband. Like you ain't taking me home. I'm not one of those girls. So I don't know what you're used to, but that's not me.
Well, let me
And
just time out here because
yeah,
I do not encourage people to go to clubs to look for husbands. Although there's great people at clubs, there's great people everywhere. But the percentage of great people is probably pretty low. So let's try somewhere else. Go to church.
yeah, try, hey, listen, that's another go to church is another story for another day, but we'll stay here. Um, yeah. So
So you meet Sean, and
I'm
I can totally see Sean saying that because Sean is a
yeah,
boxer. He
yeah,
is pretty strong. I wouldn't want to mess with Sean. But you
yeah.
meet Sean, and then what's the timeline? Like, okay, you're like looking to get married. I mean, I got so many 30-year-old girls
Well,
that are looking to
he
get married, but how do you know? How did you know?
how I knew is because when I told him I'm looking for my husband, he said I'm looking for my wife. And he said, and I prayed with one of my friends
Mm,
2 nights before I met him. I prayed for my husband and I met him. And I dreamed about him and I met him and I was like, wow, like this is my husband. And then him and his sister, they prayed for me and we met in the same
amazing.
week. We prayed for each other. But you
People
know what it
forget
was?
that part of
But
finding a
you know what it
spouse.
but you know what
Right.
it was? You know what it was? I was at the end of myself. I said, you know what? Every single relationship that I had without God didn't work.
They don't work. I mean,
And
they can
and
work.
I said, God, if I I don't want it if it ain't you. If it isn't you, I don't want it. And my husband honored the fact that I was God's daughter. And he
Mm,
told me that. He was like, that's why he was so good to me. But our time frame was fast
that's
because we
okay.
because we knew that
Right.
we had the world, we had, I had the guys, he had the girls. I mean, he was a UFC fighter. He could have had
Yeah.
any woman he wanted.
Right.
He had money in the bank. He
And
could have
then
did
what? You have it,
right
and then what?
exactly.
If
So
God said this is
he
your person, you do it. You just trust God
right,
because guess what? You're gonna have problems with anybody. But with God, you at
exactly.
least you're like, okay, God told me I gotta stick it out.
Right. So we got engaged and we were together 5 months. We got engaged and then September 2020 we got married and I was told I would never have kids. And
Mm,
17 days after we got married, we conceived our daughter
amen. Is it
and
because of
had
the abortion? Did the
mm,
doctor say
just did that and just other
party?
stuff too. Yeah.
Okay.
Just yeah. I believe it was God's protection, honestly,
Okay.
But yeah, and just yeah, then we had our daughter and then fast forward, but you
Is
know
she a
what?
little stubborn? Wait, is your daughter a little stubborn?
She absolutely is. But I speak leadership in
She's
her and
That's what I said the
she
other day. She's a leader because stubborn
she
people, we have to
she
always
knows
remember
what she
our
wants.
virtue is our vice, so it goes both ways. Stubborn people can get it done because they're going to keep their work ethic is top notch. So,
Yes.
you know, so that,
So
so I'm just teasing you on that.
no, I love it, girl. But you know what, Katie? We made a commitment, even though we weren't perfect and our life was a complete mess when we met. I mean, it was a mess. We found a church to serve God together in,
Mm-hmm.
and we got into the marriage ministry, and
Yeah.
because we needed accountability.
Yeah.
We were newlyweds. We literally got married and started going to church like
The next Sunday. Yeah.
like we were like, well, we found our church and then a week later we got married and then like a couple days later we started going to marriage ministry. We were all
Got it.
in. We're like,
Yeah.
we need community. We need people. We need people
Yes.
that are going to hold us accountable, that are going to help us, that are going to pray for us, that are for us because everything else was against us.
Mm-hmm. And it's
Because
still it doesn't go away.
and it
It's
was
it
like,
is.
oh
The
my
world is
gosh.
not for marriages these days, and it's not
Whew,
for great marriages. Like there's lots of people married, but I'm like, I want a
yeah.
great marriage. I want people to be like, dang,
Right.
that, right?
I want that.
Thriving, not just like surviving, whatever they say. But
Yes.
okay, so we have a little bit of time left. Now
Yeah.
you, after all of this you've gone through, and thank you for sharing your heart, you
Yeah.
have created a nonprofit that
Yeah.
is doing great things for women who also were in your situation, and you have great testimonies about that. Like tell us a quick one and then tell us how can people find out about you real fast. I support her monthly. I encourage everybody. You all have $20. Stop being cheap. Stop being cheap. If you're cheap, that's why you're single. But
Don't say
or
that.
upset with life. Like what? I just hate cheap people. Like I was a single broke mom and I just donated. I gave. always like willing to help. But so how, tell us a story and how can they find you?
Yeah, so just really my childhood and everything just going up to now, I'm like, okay, how can I give back? Like that's why I started CC's Angels. I started CC's Angels in 2017 and
Mhm.
I was newly saved, girl. I was radical. I was like, I'm doing everything for God, you know? And whew,
That's all
whew.
right. That's
But
good.
there's a real devil out here, you know? So anyways, I was so broken when I started this ministry as a nonprofit. I was like, I just wanted to help people,
Mhm.
and helping people made me feel better about what I went through. And giving back and blessing others made me feel that like it filled me. It filled
Right.
me up because I was just like, oh my gosh, like there's so many broken people out here. Like I think that I'm like so broken and all this stuff, but it's really I when you go and serve, when you're
Yeah.
hurting and you're feeling bad, like you realize, whoa, my life
Yeah.
ain't that bad. The
Yep.
woe,
Quiet.
the woe is me. You're like, whoa, like
Yeah.
the woe is me turns into like, whoa, like for real. So
Yes.
that helped me just serving and giving back. And then I got serious about my life. I got some coaching. I started because I was just helping, but I didn't really have like a vision. I
Mhm.
didn't know where I was going.
You're all over the place a little bit.
Right.
So I'm
Like
sure
I was
once this
like,
girl gets some
I was like,
vision.
I knew I wanted to help this. I knew I wanted to do that and do this, da, da, da. But I needed vision. So I got a coach and she helped me nail down some vision. And she's like,
Yeah.
okay, like let's work on this, and this. And then in 2021, well, 2020, I started a Bible study and I started discipling women all over the country.
Mhm. Via Zoom.
Now I'm discipling women all over the world online.
Amazing.
Yeah, and small groups and Bible studies. And then in 2021, yeah, that's when I just like went in a new direction with the ministry. And I was like, okay, this is a ministry, you know. Yes, we're a nonprofit, but this is like God stories, right? So then started helping single moms leave bad situations, and
Mhm.
we would just provide them with the rent and utility assistance. And if they needed a washer and dryer, we'd give them a washer
Right.
and dryer. You know, if they needed a root canal, we would bless them with that. So just like little things like where we could help, like because I didn't have a lot of funding and didn't have a lot of supporters, but I had like a few. But, you know, that's where I need, like, people to come alongside me so that
Yep.
we really push the mission forward and do
Yeah.
really great things.
Monthly
And then
support. People have maybe never heard of this, but you can give somebody like you monthly support. I do. I give you monthly support. It just comes right
yeah,
out. I don't even notice, but like stop drinking
yeah,
your Starbucks. Because when you, and you said it, if you need to heal, you need to help. Because that God's doing something new when you give away and you bless and you go see that, wow, maybe my life ain't so bad, or
yeah,
it was but now it's better. So
yeah,
you've got these haven homes, and I got to go to one recently for the opening of a haven home with a family with
yes,
a mother and her kids,
yes,
who if you could tell real fast, because you also, and you're holding me accountable to finishing my book. You're like, girl,
yes,
what are you doing on your book? I'm like, oh, but you've actually been the best fire under my, you know what, because I
yeah,
hired a book coach. She was terrible. Nothing. I was like, whatever, lady. You, on the other hand, got me moving. But you've got this family living in there, and it's not like forever. It's not like, oh, just live off of us. What is the goal with that family in the Haven home?
yeah. So our we have a 90-day program, and what we do is we provide shelter. We give them a safe place to live,
Yep.
and we give them resources. So they have resources to financial literacy, credit repair, nutrition courses, GED programs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like if they need to get their GED and all the things, and it's really powerful. We've had our mama in there since October 1st, and
Yeah. With
she
her two
is
kiddos.
actually it's actually three of them. Yeah, three kiddos.
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
it's okay. And but no, it's really powerful. And she is, I'm like, you're really setting the bar high for these women, lady, because
That's
she is just
good.
getting stuff done. Like she's getting her GED for the first time. She got her driver's license for the
Amazing.
first time. She got
Amazing.
a car. She has a
Amazing.
job. Like her kids are in school. They're thriving.
Ugh.
I'm just like, God, you're so good. And
Her
just
confidence is growing.
yes, like
Like,
her confidence. She's like, because we're there to help. We're not there to we're not hand out, we're hand up. Like,
Yeah,
we're giving you a hand up out of this situation. We're
I
here
like that.
to support you, but you got to do the work. You know what
Yes.
I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, I'm
I
not
don't
going to
believe in
coddle
welfare. I believe in charity. Like
I'm not
that's
going
the
to
difference. That's good.
coddle you. I'm not going to baby your demons. I'm not going to coddle you, but I will help you, like, I'll support you. So,
You would not. That's what I love about you. We kind of have that energy, like we're coaches, like we're gonna make you sweat, we're gonna make it hurt. With my husband, I got
yeah.
to put on my cheerleader face, not my coach face. I'm learning, I'm practicing.
Yes. It's
But
a process, girl, because I used to coach my husband and he'd be like, I'm the coach.
you're like, okay, put that hat away. But
Yes.
Cece, we loved having you on today. Tell us more about how to get a hold of Cece's Angels, because spelling
Yeah.
Cece, you got to spell it correctly. So will you spell it
Yeah.
out for us?
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram at CC_Spencer and
That's
CC's Angels
CECE.
CECE
Yeah.
underscore Spencer. And then the ministry is C, capital C, apostrophe S, Angels at inc.org. That's our or you can find us on Instagram at CC, not CECE, but CC
The
apostrophe
letter.
the letter apostrophe S underscore Angels
Yes.
on Instagram. Yeah.
Love it. Well,
And they can become a monthly partner if they'd
monthly
like.
partner, man. Monthly, like $10, even $10. We talked about this. What if, at an event we needed a certain amount of money? We just need everybody to give $15. And yet
Mhm.
people didn't. And look, I have been where it's like, oh, my, money's kind of low. But if you're living in America, you ain't poor. That's all I'm gonna say to that. If you're living in debt, make your choices better. But yeah, I do believe in sowing and reaping. And so when you begin to sow into great things, God will change things for you. We see that all the
Mhm.
time. So, oh, well, this has been a great, not only like love and life talk, because you've definitely had some life, but now your love. I've seen your family, your daughters. You just had a brand new baby girl. She's precious. Like your little
Yes.
kiddos running around. I come to the front door. They greet me. They thought I was the babysitter though, but that's okay. I still thought me. But we just love having you on, and we just want to thank you all for listening to A Matchmaker's Guide on Love and Life with me, your favorite matchmaker, Katy Clark. Until next time, make sure that you go have a great love and life. I said in Jesus' name.
In the name of
In
Jesus.
the name of
Amen.
Jesus. Amen.